the main rationale when we did it was not to raise finance, but more from a public image, where you look bigger than you are. And one of the things I suppose I learned from years before at another company was always try and look bigger than you are.
The New Zealand Business Podcast, brought to you by Gorilla Technology, your strategic and proactive IT partner.
I'm Paul Spain, futurist and chief executive at Gorilla Technology. I love contributing to the success of individuals and their organisations. New Zealand Business Podcast is all about this by helping you learn from our most notable leaders. In this episode, I chat again with talented Just Water entrepreneur and Kia world-class New Zealander Tony Falkenstein. We delve into new insights from his business journey, including recent pivots and acquisitions, and his approach to helping the next generation of entrepreneurs, which is one of Tony's passions. New Zealand Business Podcast is brought to you by One New Zealand, alongside Gorilla Technology, tech, enablement, and cybersecurity risk reduction experts, and Outrun Global, remote staffing to help your local teams work smarter, not harder. Before we jump into the interview, if you work in a mid-size or smaller organisation, think about this. Does your organisation truly have its house in order from a cybersecurity perspective? Or would Gorilla Technology's cyber audit service help give you more visibility and confidence? Real privilege to have Tony Falkenstein joining us in the studio again. How are you, Tony?
Excellent. No, it's a real privilege to be here again.
Yeah.
Twice. Wow.
Nearly 4 years since we chatted last time, and lots of things have obviously happened in that time. When I listened back to our previous chat, I realised there's a few areas we could delve in a little bit more, and there's some other things that you've been involved in terms of encouraging entrepreneurship, particularly in schools recently and also university system. So keen to delve into those things. But maybe before I pepper you with lots of questions, any highlights when you look back on these last 4 year period, stands out for you?
Well, I think everyone's got to look back at COVID and say pre-COVID and post-COVID.
Yes.
There seem to be a lot of changes there, just generally.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. And I know you've been very much close to what's been going on an AI front and following that with a lot of interest. So maybe we'll get some time to delve into that side of things as well.
Terrific.
But yeah, first up, I was thinking it would be great to hear a little bit more around your story with taking your business, which was Just Water, became Just Life Group, and taking that through the process of an initial public offering, an IPO on the NZX, and becoming a listed company. And what were the pros and cons of that? Because you've made some changes. Maybe we can go back to the beginning of that story.
Okay, that's going back a long time, but. But prior to starting the company that I'm in now, I was chief executive of another public company. And I always thought, we started this one, we said in 5 years we'll go public again. Well, it took 15 years. But the main rationale when we did it was not to raise finance, but more from a public image, where you look bigger than you are. And one of the things I suppose I learned from years before at another company was always try and look bigger than you are. And so that was the reason for the IPO. I mean, we only raised $8 million. We didn't really need it. Unfortunately, we spent it wrongly, but that's life. That's one of the bad stories.
Was this sort of moving into Australia?
Australia, yeah. That wasn't a good investment.
Yeah.
So being public, I mean, it has its advantages when things are going well. It's great. But I also found that when things are going bad, you just keep your head in and nobody wants to talk about it when a company's, relatively small size.
Yeah.
The challenge for a smaller company is you have to do everything the same as a big company. So you need an annual report which is 160 pages long and with all the glossy photos in it. You have to have all that, and you have to go through the same processes, same order procedures. And where larger companies would have one person, say on health and safety, or on some other part of the business. As a smaller business, we wouldn't have those. And so it is just a lot more difficult. So and a lot more costly. So we sort of saved by moving off the NZX. We saved about $400,000, and it wasn't the fault in effect of the NZX. I mean, their fees, that much, but all the other things that go with it, the legal fees. You have to use a top legal firm, and all the time you do not want to breach the NZX rules and the takeover rules and all that. And so everything almost goes past legal. And then the audit, again, the auditors, you have to use, top grade audit firm. And again, they're just a lot more expensive than the mid-size audit firms. Yeah. So all the overall costs, it came to about $400,000 we saved by moving away from the NZX.
And how did that number look in terms of annual profits for you? If you've got another $400,000 in there, how much difference is that making?
Unfortunately, it didn't make that much difference because it was just after COVID. So we saved the money, which kept profitability. It kept it about the same, as it happened.
But if you'd been 400 less, then So it's helpful in the scheme of things, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think that we just couldn't take advantage of the public system in terms of raising capital, and that's where we said, hey, it's not really, we didn't see that happening within the next 5 years. So we said, hey, let's go on to the USX, which is Unlisted Stock Exchange, not a US format, and that's what we've done.
Yeah. And I mean, did you think about pivoting and changing the business? Because I know you've mentioned to me about investing in quite a range of other firms, and having a kind of investment arm, or building out in other directions. And obviously you've had acquisitions as well, and I'm keen to delve into a little bit on that front.
Yeah, I mean, we decided to. So once we got over the pains of the Australian venture and got the bank happy, we looked at going into I suppose a construction area or the periphery of it, and started a healthy homes division. So bought a company from Wellington, Home Tech, and we went with that. And then from that we added on the Cylinder Guy, and then on the healthy living side where we had Just Water, we bought 3 supplement businesses. Now, unfortunately, we bought the healthy homes businesses right at the start of the downturn in the construction sector. And so now we've only got Solar-Tube, which is a great brand, and it's done, it's people who, it's not for new houses. So, so that's been a nice little unit. But in fact, the rest of the construction business, ventilation and what have you, we've virtually got out of it.
Right. Yeah.
On the healthy living side, and that's where we want to stay now, the supplement business, we like that business, and so that's one that we will continue in.
And so how did that change come about, and what were the opportunities that came up there?
Well, there's some learnings here. So one of the learnings, because we made 2 mistakes. One of the learnings is never buy a one-man business that's owner-operated. And the reason is, and we're not big business, but a medium-sized business finds it really hard to run a one-man show.
Yes.
And so we bought the Cylinder Guy, which was a really nice business, but in terms of our overheads and things, it just didn't work. The guy we sold it to, and we know him well, he's going extremely well. He lives, that's what he does. He lives the Cylinder Guy.
Gotcha.
One that we made a serious mistake. We've just sold it this week, in fact, within the healthy living area. We thought we're in supplements. We should be in natural cosmetics, and bought a business called Love Skin a year ago, exactly 12 months ago, and we just sold it this week.
Yeah, okay.
And again, learning we should not be in a one-man business.
Right. Yep. Just didn't work for you.
No.
Yeah.
So now we know we're going to stick to our knitting and make the businesses we have grow and see other opportunities. But we won't go outside that healthy living area now.
Yeah. So walk us through what else you're doing in the healthy living supplements sort of side.
Well, in the company we bought, About Health, main one, which was quite a significant purchase, but they have two products in particular, which was Lester's Oil and resveratrol. And those are really two really good products. They've been advertised. They've been on ZB for 20 odd years, and so we're growing those. We've put them through into before we were totally online, so now we've gone to a bit of retail. In terms of the other one, in terms of Herbal Ignite, another one that's been advertised on radio for 20 odd years, we put that into Chemist Warehouse, and from being an online business, and now Chemist Warehouse takes 50% of that revenue. I mean, they're such a powerful machine.
Right. And when you do something like that, do you find that your existing business sort of gets cannibalized by the retail, or are they really, giving you a really big uplift in terms of your overall sales?
Yeah, they give us a big uplift. I mean, some people obviously will go over. We sort of make a different sized product because, just a 30-day product for Chemist Warehouse, while a lot of our online customers just buy 3 months at a time.
Right. So you can differentiate, what you put out in that different market. So tell us a little bit more about that, that acquisition of About Health. I know we touched on a little bit last time. What was it that, that led, you to show interest in About Health as a business initially?
Well, I had actually been in a supplement business in a past life. And so I really liked the business. This one we'd tried to buy previously, and I'd gone to the founder, and anyway it didn't quite work. And then when I rang him 3 years later, he said, "Well, we've sold 30% of it."
Oh wow!
And talked to these people, and
Yeah.
so we did, and then we bought it off them.
Yeah.
So that's how that went.
And when you look back at that, do you know why they didn't come back to you? Was that it was just?
I think just naivety. You just
Yeah.
didn't think about it.
Yeah. Okay.
I probably got approached by these guys, and
Yeah.
oh yeah, no,
Yeah.
I'll sell sell down a bit. The great thing about that business is I'm in the age bracket that takes those sort of supplements, and so the 55 plus as a consumer, they're very sticky. They tend to buy a product that they like, and they stick with it. The younger supplement buyer, and supplements a big growth area by younger people, but they tend to like this now and then that, and they go from one to the other. So we like that sort of customer, and and the younger marketing people don't understand it because they say, "Oh, we have to be on social media," but this 55 plus does not. They look at Facebook and what have you. They will never buy off it. While younger people will. They'll see something and oh, gee, we must get that. And so it's you have to go back to the old traditional radio, press, and TV.
Fantastic. Now, one area of your IPO was that you gave away a significant amount of shares at the time that you listed. How did that happen, and why did you do that?
Well, I'd always been the story is in 2001. This global entrepreneurship monitor came out, which showed that New Zealand was number one in startups. There's 28 countries, and number 28 of the startups lasting 5 years.
This is a sort of per capita type thing.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
And
so, wow, yeah, that's a problem.
Yeah. So anyway, we were living in London at the time, and the principal of Onehunga High School, which is the school I went to, he was over in London on a Wolf Fisher scholarship. And so he came and lived in our flat for a couple of days, and we went down to the local restaurant and drank a bottle of wine, and I said to him, "Chris, I think we should do something. Why don't we start a business school at Onehunga?" And he, "Oh, yeah, you'll bring a proposal to me when you get onto the board." And so the next year, when we were back, I did give a proposal to him, which was really that, to me, the business education is the key to economic prosperity. And people who are in areas where they don't learn about business, their parents are tradesmen or whatever, and so they don't talk about business around the dining table, which is probably something like 70% of people. They're not getting the same opportunity, and yet they are the people that know what struggle is about. They're the ones that have a lot of the attributes that will make them successful. And so in fact, if you talk today to most business people that have started their own businesses, most of them don't come out of wealthy families. They come out of that. They just have much more the resilience to keep on going ahead. Now, if they have the education, I can see that they're really going to make this country explode. So I thought, if I'm going to do anything, that's where I want to focus.
Fantastic. And yeah, I guess, I know when we've looked at who our listeners are, we're not hearing that there's a whole lot of youngsters from high school, but there is that growing interest in entrepreneurship, in startups, and because of the story that's been created by the successes of the on the global scale, the sort of Elon Musks and Bill Gates and so on, and of course here in New Zealand the likes of Peter Beck and others. So that's really created a level of interest that wasn't around 20, 30 years ago. So now that interest is there, what did it look like to get the business school started with Onehunga High, and what was the interest?
Yeah, well, first of all, just to comment on that, to many of them, it's just such a faraway dream, they don't even think about it. It's like it's like being an All Black. They're so far away that they can't even dream that, and don't even understand what it's all about. So when we started the business school at Onehunga, that was like a startup. We made lots of mistakes, but it got underway, and Chris Saunders, who was the principal, was very enthusiastic about it, became very enthusiastic about it, and we hired a head of the business school, and he was very enthusiastic about it. So we got to, after the first year, once we had the business school going, a school that couldn't fulfill their role was oversubscribed. They picked students from all over Auckland who wanted to come because they'd heard about this business school at Onehunga. So it was really an enormous effect to such a degree that, to some degree, bad, because the decile went from three to 4, which means they get less money from government. But they had a lot better students. Everything went up from there. Wow.
And the way it worked with your trust, because you did one that was focused on on high school, and then you had another trust in terms of supporting Auckland University.
Yeah, so initially we had that trust for the university business school, and it just sort of started developing monies, and we spent a few things here and there. Anyway, probably about 6 years ago, we came up with this program which we started, which was taking the around 18 to 20 students to Silicon Valley and San Francisco.
Fantastic.
Each year. And so that's now a 10-year program, fully committed, and most of that's from the dividends have come through from the company. So it's called the Vanguard program, and the students are selected, and we do about, last year we did 25 visits in a week, so really full on. But from I go on it. I mean, you see some of the stories. Tim Brown, we saw him 3 or 4 years ago, and then through his IPO, and then down the other side. Obviously, we've seen the guys from Halter we get to see up there. We go to Stanford, we go to various places. On this last visit, I didn't even realise we were talking to this guy I had taken back in my Onehunga days to Silicon Valley, and he says, I remember we were in this company in Silicon Valley, and it was in Silicon Valley, and I thought, this seems it's funny. Why should it be here? Why can't I make a global business out of New Zealand, or anywhere else in the world? And there he was now, and I'm sorry, I forgot. I can tell you later on what the company was, but now it's a global player. It's seen as an Australian one because his partner's Australian, but he said that was the thing that really got me going. I thought, I'm going to do a global company.
Fantastic.
So that sort of thing gives you a hell of a lot of pleasure, and seeing some of the success stories that come out from Onehunga and from the University Business School.
Yeah, brilliant. Yeah, I think we've got to keep looking for those opportunities to inspire and educate and get started in the world of business and entrepreneurship. we've got to do more of that with youngsters. So yeah, it's great what you've started on that front. Now, more recently, Waitakere College is kicking off with a business school as well. So
so Waitakere College is similar to Onehunga. It's had 50% of Polynesian or Maori, probably about another 25% come from various places, India and all sorts of places. The other 25% European. Again, it's a school where, most of the students don't have the opportunity to really understand what business is all about. So it's a really good school, and a very good principal who is like Chris Saunders, very enthusiastic about doing it. And so, the Ministry of Education opened it just a few weeks ago, and we've done visits to Zeal, to Anna Mowbray, to our bottling plant. I've been behind the scenes at Auckland Football, behind the scenes at the Blues. We're going out to Babbage Wines. Mike Hutchison's talking to us about advertising. Liam Dan is having a chat to us. So again, these kids are seeing things, and it's, I just can't believe it. Some of these kids are just, they just can't, it's like they've just never seen anything like it before. And suddenly they're exposed to that, and they're really coming up with some good ideas.
Yeah, fantastic. And in terms of how long would you expect it to take to get that business school, established and I guess seeing results? Like, how quickly do you see that kind of impacting the way people are thinking and then operating in terms of launching their own things?
It happens in different ways. I mean, when I looked at some of if I look at the girl who runs Mox Brands who came from the Onehunga Business School, and she worked for Anna Mowbray in China and what have you, and then came back, and so she's probably be in the mid-30s, but now started her own company. And I think Mox was the biggest growth company or something in New Zealand last year.
Wow.
Her sister, who also came to at that stage to New York with us, she's a global manager for one of the big travel companies based out of Amsterdam. So they go different ways. Another girl who very quickly from Onehunga started a business, which was called Stay Today. It was too early, and she went right around hotels, so you could book it on the day, and so you got the best rate. And so she'd go to hotels and just got I think it was 25% commission. And got them to understand that. And after a couple of years, she really couldn't get funding, etc. And after she got out of it, the big ones came in, and they're now worth billions of dollars that do that same sort of thing.
Taking the same approach.
And so she's now gone to a corporate area, but now she's looking to set up, do something different. By herself.
Yeah, great to hear these stories and know that it's having impact.
See, all you're doing is opening up their eyes, and that's what I'm really looking for. Open up their eyes. Hey, there are opportunities out there. Whether you do it yourself or whether you work for someone else, but don't just stop at your little suburb and say, hey, that's as far as I'm going to go.
Yeah. And in terms of how that's worked with establishing the trusts, giving them shares in the business, is that something that was an initial kind of donation or a seed investment into the trust, or is that something you needed to keep funding in other ways, or the shares and dividends effectively kept that able to operate?
Yeah, generally the dividends have been enough to cover everything, and there's certainly quite a bit in the New Zealand Business Education Trust. In terms of the university, because I wanted to commit to 10 years, I also wanted to make sure that the money was there in case I cark it or something. So that took a bit of personal stuff put in to just add to the fund.
Yeah. And how do you do that or how does the university do their part to make that work? Because it's not a low cost thing to be flying people up to Silicon Valley.
Yeah, well, this thing, it costs, I think it's around about $120,000 a year to do this trip, which is increasing. Fortunately, they do all the background work, so they assess the people who they not only have to fit the criteria that they're going to be okay to tour, And each group we've taken really just been fabulous students and just smart students. Boy, they just you don't want to be up the front of the room with these questions that get asked. I mean, these guys are really good.
Yeah.
I can tell you a story from the last trip. One of the guys had such a great background story. I mean, I just fell in love with his story. I said, this guy he's gonna make it, right? And I still can't understand what it is, but it beams light off satellites and got all this data and comes down on the Earth, and it can say, hey, you haven't got enough potassium in your land here, or enough nitrogen, or too much, whatever. And he was so enthusiastic about it. I said, hey, listen, but working off this, just had no money at all, and nowhere they were scrounging around to get a room at the BNZ they used and other rooms just to operate from.
Yeah.
So we gave them some space in our offices, and I said, listen, if you get the funding, I'll in fact put some money in. And so last week he did get $750,000 from Ice House Ventures.
Yep.
And since then he's had K1, W1, and others coming in who also want to be in this. He wanted to do 1 million. Which would put a market cap of 4 million, and this kid left home when he was 14, got a little scholarship to Delhi University, got over to the US, did something there, came down to New Zealand, always living off smell of an oily rag. Even a few weeks ago, he says, I just have to get to this conference in Colorado, which he's going to next week. I had the money for one way, and so he always finds a way though. And he says, so I wrote to them. And I said, hey, listen, I can present a paper there, which is everyone's going to be worthwhile, but you have to pay my one trip back.
Yeah.
And so they agreed to it, and so now he can get back. And on top of that, since he left home, comes out of a village in India. Since he left home, he hasn't been back. It's been 10 years.
Wow.
So he's going back to see his family.
Yeah.
Really great.
Oh, it's so exciting to to see and hear these stories coming through, and as you talked about at the beginning, we seem to generate a lot of startups, but of course we've got to make it work so that we're getting building successful long-term businesses that do well and are good for our economy and for our people.
Even this guy, I mean, he was just naive about a lot of things. And although I don't understand the whole process that he's in, I can at least advise him. And some of the security on this data was so important to him.
Yeah,
he wasn't protecting, and just a lot of smaller things that I could just give him some advice on.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. And look, I think we need to do more of what you're doing in terms of investing into that next generation of founders and entrepreneurs. And in terms of your approach, you've mentioned that you would invest with him. Have you got a particular approach that you follow when it comes to investing into other firms? Because I'm sure there'll be there are lots of people who have knocked on your door in the past, and that will continue. How do you decide what to invest in? How much of it is the idea? How much of it is the founder? How do you evaluate those sorts of things?
Well, I have to say I'm not really a big investor. I mean, I do get asked all the time. Like this one was just loved the kid, loved what he had done, and very presentable. Otherwise, now I'm really only doing things through the company, through Just Life Group. Otherwise, if I go out in the investment market, I tend to buy at the top and sell at the bottom. And I don't think that's a good investment strategy.
So I guess there's lessons in there probably for all of us, right? You can be very good at these things, at business and entrepreneurship, but I guess it doesn't mean that we should all become investors.
That's right. I mean, I'm much more better at an operational point of view than proved that I'm not the best investor.
Yeah. Was there anything else on About Health you think might be of interest to listeners?
I certainly like the target market we're in and understanding that consumer. And I think, although they might be dying off, there are others coming into that market, but they're they're just a reliable consumer, which makes it a lot easier as a marketer than dealing with the under 40s.
So there's a lot to be said about understanding your customer, deeply, and when you have that knowledge and that understanding, it becomes much easier to deliver what they want and to make a business really work.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, they don't want to feel as though they're being sold to, and they want to feel confident in a brand, and so it's I mean, who else? I mean, we deal with, say, Herbal Ignite is a bit different. There we have to go out and really talk to those customers and in a totally different way.
Yep. And so because you run radio advertising there as well?
Yeah. So in fact, the product got invented by former radio DJ Tim Bickerstaff, I think.
Okay.
So he invented the product, and so yeah, we've been on radio for 20 odd years with that product. But it's quite a sensitive product to talk to. I mean, we sort of say, hey, it's a natural alternative to Viagra. And so it makes it, we thought we could do it in the US because I've been up there and there's nothing really that's like that in the market. But we had a year's time before the next show up there to get onto Amazon. And you really have to be on Amazon to be in the US market because people just go to Amazon first to see if it's there. If it's not there, don't even get in touch. We used the best lawyers we could find in the US, etc. We could not get onto Amazon. You don't have to mention anything, libido or something, and you're out. And then, I mean, they did everything to try and stop us. In effect, they didn't like, there's a central worldwide testing authority that tested our product, and no, they wanted different worldwide testing, and they did everything. So in the end, we said, hey, we're better off not being there.
Was that when you acquired, the product, was that part of your view? Was international expansion for it? Was that kind of a key part?
We did think that it was a nice niche product, and we said, hey, we can't really go with a mass product line because there's so many, everybody's in it. But maybe with a niche product, we could go there. And we're still, I mean, we haven't lost sight of that. I mean, there are other markets, particularly, the Middle East. I mean, Chemist Warehouse are now up in Dubai, and we'd look at that market. We think that's a market that could take it.
Yeah, that's an interesting approach, isn't it? You do deal well with a local retailer with a global presence.
Yeah.
And you might well be able to, stretch out through that channel.
Yeah, I mean, that's what we like about a Chemist Warehouse is, if you see that line going up there like that, it becomes a lot easier to get into the next market, into Australia and into anything else they're in.
Yep. And obviously, Chemist Warehouse, I'm presuming they're an Australian, they're Australian founded chain. They've done very well here in the New Zealand market. What are you seeing from New Zealand players? There's a little bit of activity, and we like to have Kiwi owned companies, but sometimes it's really the international players that will come in and kind of show us how retail or other areas of business should be done.
Well, just a story on that. So Jack Gantz, who owns Chemist Warehouse, he and I launched Lispex in New Zealand way back in the early 80s.
Yeah.
So he and I are very, very good friends, and we're in a business group together that we meet once every 3 months. But yeah, I mean, just done a fantastic job.
Yeah.
So, I think there's another discount pharmacy that started here. I mean, they are doing very, very well in New Zealand. In Australia, there's a lot more competition at discount end and there, but I think they're finding New Zealand just unbelievable.
Yeah, well, I think there was certainly a gap, in the market there. So, yeah, well done to them. Now, something else that you've done is you launched the Entrepreneurs organisation here in New Zealand, going back, around 30 years ago?
30 years ago.
Tell us how that came about, and what does that look like today?
Well, I was in another organisation, and telling you how long ago, it was called Young Presidents Organisation.
YPO.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I must have gone to the bathroom or something because I came out and they said, hey, listen, you're launching EO in New Zealand. And so I got around about half a dozen people together and we got it launched. And then we started. One of the Americans came down, so it's an American-based organisation. And since then, we've had about 1,000 people go through, but there's about 100 members of it, and I'm still a member. I mean, you get enormous benefits because whether they're a smaller business, so they all have to have a minimum turnover of $1 million US. So they're just past the startup stage, but a lot of them have got 100 million. In fact, I went to one conference in Hong Kong and met this guy who's asked him, what do you do in transport? Oh, yeah. Well, anyway, in the end, he owned Cathay Airways. So it doesn't matter what level you are, you all you go through the same sort of things, the ups and downs of just being in business. And so it's a really, people call it their tribe. It's like, that's what it is. Everyone's the same in terms of the things they go through.
Yeah, fantastic. And so, first of all with YPO and then with EO, what did you personally find was most helpful? Because I guess every leader, every organisation probably has different challenges, but also with so many similarities, there's bound to be somebody else that's been through something similar or got some expertise that they can share. So, how did that look like? Because you've been doing this now for decades.
Well, they have a program, a forum where you get together with 8 to 10 people from the chapter, and you meet once a month, and everything is confidential. So whether it's business, personal, or family, and so very quickly you develop absolute trust within that group. And because they come from different businesses, they have different approaches. So if you're in one industry group, everyone sort of has that industry same thinking. Here you've got someone is running one business, another one totally different, and says, hey, we did this. You ever thought of doing something like that? And it's those ideas are just flowing all the time, and people feel they can be vulnerable and be quite open about what's happening in their business. And very helpful, during COVID, some of them in travel businesses, for example, I mean, they just needed someone they could talk to. And so having those groups is really beneficial.
And I mean, I went along to one of the entrepreneurs organisations events a little while ago. Obviously, you were one of the many entrepreneurs that was there to chat to. Are there any particular leaders that stand out that you've met in those groups and that have maybe got a lot out of the group or have contributed a lot?
Well, you would have found, I mean, there's a real buzz.
Yeah,
from the entrepreneurs. They love being there. I think
because it's often talked about that when you're leading a business that could be a lonely endeavour. So that's I guess one of the great things is you're getting together with other people that that understand what you're dealing with.
There are a lot of people that have sold their businesses and I mean they put it right down to EO and what's growing that business. I mean I like just seeing some of those businesses there when they start and to see them grow. Others they don't survive. But the ones that do survive are, it's great. Some great stories there.
Yeah, and when you look at why the things you've done have done well, and when you look at others where you've obviously seen businesses come and go and some of them not survive, what would you say are the things that are kind of the traits of those that maybe survive versus those that don't in their leaders?
I think a lot of it is just cash flow. So I'm very big on you make the statement profit is a matter of opinion, cash is a matter of fact, and I want to see more cash in my bank at the end of the year than beginning of the year. So starting with that, a lot of them they don't have the margin to, I look at some businesses now and I think it won't survive and it cannot survive. there's one that I called out to, and because I know it's in sort of similar rental business, and I know he wasn't interested in really talking to me. I thought that business, I just know it cannot survive. So I think some of the traders not understanding that. Others, I think it's resilience is really a big factor. Getting through COVID was a big one for a lot of them. But I think when they're thinking of buying, selling, I mean that's always, a lot of people have been through all that. I can't think of anyone else who's ever gone public from EO.
Yeah. And I guess we're in this time where there are a lot of startups that traditionally, don't make money for quite some time. Do you think that's a problem when businesses ultimately need to make money? But of course we've seen some great examples along the way of businesses that they might be 10, 20 years in. In some cases we look, say, Rocket Lab. They're stretching themselves. They've increased their share price considerably. Xero for a long time were not a profitable company. Even Amazon were in that category. So there are these ones, but it tends to be a pretty small number where what they're doing is I don't even know how you describe their opportunities, but with very big opportunities that a huge amount of investment gets put into, and it's clear to investors that long term they're going to do well, but you can't do that with the typical business, can you? You need to be turning a profit pretty quick.
Well, I know the tech sector think they invented recurring income, but we had in the rental business.
Yes.
So when you start, you're buying a piece of capital and you're not getting your money back. And we went for 6 years before we made a profit, and because you're investing it always into new product, and watching that rental income. In our case, it was easier because the banks could see that. So I mean, we started with very little money, but the banks could see that if we put out a water cooler over time, it's going to they can see the automatic payments are going through. So over time, that's going to get repaid. In fact, I think we got it down to before the first bank called up their money. It was only 9 months they had to wait for, everything we'd borrowed would have been repaid back. Now they didn't quite understand that cash flow funding.
Yeah.
While another bank, that we went to, who we're now with the BNZ, they understood it, and so they've backed us ever since. So students coming out now all want to go. The first thing they do is go knocking on doors looking for money, and I sometimes think that some of the ideas just they're very hard to get off the ground, and it's a pity they waste that time. They're very, very smart individuals.
Yeah.
And if they did something else, they could, in terms of getting a lot more money, they could. Or if they waited a bit and had a bit more money to put their own money in, they could earn high incomes.
So maybe you can just give us an overview of the Waitakere College School of Business scholarships.
I think this time with the Waitakere College School of Business, we've got the model right. And so it's one that I think that we can move into other schools. It's not an expensive thing, but I think that one of the things that Chris Saunders said, the initial principal of Ainehanga High School, he said you have to really say, hey, that's what we want to be. Now other schools might be say they want to be we want to have the best chefs, or we want to do car maintenance, whatever. But if you want to be a business school, you need the sign out, you are a business school. And that's what Waitakere did. We did some pre-marketing, not overly successful, but in West Auckland, we're known, hey, if your kid, and I think next year they're going to be overthrown by kids from West Auckland and say, hey, we want to go to that Waitakere College. They've got a business school there. Having a space that is the business school, that's important.
Right. So they've got a dedicated
area
part on campus.
And then just really saying, hey, I suppose it's like having your main product. and saying that's what we want to be. So we've launched. I mean, we've got. See, the tertiaries are very, very keen to help, because if you learn French, you start about year 9. By the time you get to university, you know a bit of French, so they can take you from here and go to there. But with business, if you've come from a school where where your parents are not in business and they haven't done anything at school, they're starting from scratch. So that's why they've had the University of Auckland Business School, AU Waikato Management School, have all put in scholarships to take these students. So they know, hey, wow, these guys are going to have some nous when they come to school, come to university, and they're also going to be a lot more dedicated, because they know it's a struggle to go to university. Like a lot of them will. One of the girls said to me from the school, says, "I'm really going for that scholarship. There's no way I'll ever get to university if I don't get that scholarship." So really important. And it's a scholarship that is $8,000 a year. So it really covers everything. So they will be able to go to university without asking their family for more money.
So this is a 3-year scholarship. Yeah. So they've got basically $24,000 coming in over that first.
As long as they pass.
Yeah, 3 years. Yep. So you got to set that bar. Yeah, that's great. And so, how many scholarships are there available?
There are 5 scholarships.
Yeah,
fantastic. So it's going to be interesting.
And how many would be going through the business school at Waitakere College this year?
There are about 32 who are doing accounting, economics, and business, and there are about 80 all up doing business studies. Now, to get one of these scholarships, you can do it with just business studies, because if you were doing a marketing degree, you don't have to do accounting or economics. So the whole 80 are going to come down to 5 scholarships if they want to do that. But if they want to go into a trade or whatever, you just need those business skills. I spoke to a girl the other day who was a chiropodist, just had nothing in their degree was about business. They all have to run a little business. Yeah. Same with doctors. I mean, nothing in their degree about business.
Yeah. It's fantastic to have that kicked off and operating, and I think it's definitely going to be a draw card for them, and it's something that's good for New Zealand. So well
so
done.
It's good to see government are encouraging financial literacy from year 1 to 10. You might have seen David Seymour has floated an idea of year 11 students investing in businesses, again, to encourage financial literacy. The YES program, Young Entrepreneurs Program, has just been very, very successful. And so that's a really, really good program for people to get into.
Yeah, great. Before we finish up, wondering if you've got some tips for listeners, anyone listening in, something that they could put into action in how they operate from a leadership perspective, or something that they can do in their business that comes from your toolkit, Tony.
Well, I suppose culture is everything, and energy zappers don't make good people. So I think just not having a hierarchy, that people should be able to venture if they've got a problem, or if they think something's not fair, they should be able to say it to somebody. But they shouldn't talk to each other about when they don't know why. So we say to people, hey, listen, we'll always tell you why we can't tell you something. And often it's because, hey, we're still a public company. We can't tell you something until we've told the public. So energy zappers are not allowed.
Yep. And so, what does that tend to look like in practice? If you've got an energy zapper within your organisation,
They get zapped.
How do you work through that with people? I think you said last time that you like to create an environment where people are having fun and enjoying themselves, and if they're not having fun, you encourage them. Look, if you're not enjoying yourself here, then maybe this isn't the right place to be. Is that part of the encouragement?
I think there's a question that your listeners can take on.
Yeah.
The best question ever is, you sit them down and say, "You're not happy, are you?" And then pause. And either if they say, "Yeah, I'm really happy doing my job," well, hey, you're not showing it. And if you're saying you're not happy, well, hey, what is it? It's something we can do, or it's something you have to do. One or the other. And it's a good question to just get something happening, something rolling on it, because you just don't want them sitting there and moaning to everybody else.
Yeah. Okay, that's good. Now we were going to delve into the unlisted stock exchange. Tell us. I'd just like to hear a little bit more around going from the NZX to unlisted stock exchange, USX. What did that actually practically look like? How much different is that for your shareholders to work with, and what does it mean for those who would like to buy shares or sell their shares?
Yeah, I think it's not a platform that brokers particularly like. It's almost one they have to comply with, and they have to buy and sell shares through. I mean, there are a lot of companies on there, Zespri and some of the wine companies are on there. So at the time we had to get 50% of the shareholders, excluding me, I wasn't allowed to vote, that wanted to move from the NZX to the USX.
And USX is New Zealand based.
New Zealand based.
Yeah.
And the directors had to, didn't in this case did not make a recommendation, much to the chagrin of the Shareholder Association. But we went through the process and so it got past an annual meeting. We then, almost the next day, the current directors decided to resign, and the new directors came in pretty quickly. So that was quite good, because the old directors, there was nothing wrong with them, but they were much more public company compliant, very compliant people. While we've taken on someone who had just sold their cosmetics business, which suited us. They were used to dealing with pharmacies and what have you. Then a girl who's like a futurist and very up to date with AI. So that was just beneficial for us on an operating level, a much more operating friendly basis. And because now we have less compliance, still have to do all the compliance. And I think if and as we said, we may one day come back to the NZX, so we'll be able to do it very easily. We comply with everything, but can be a lot more flexible. We still have an annual meeting. We advise shareholders, what's going on. But probably, because brokers don't really like dealing in it. There is not that much dealing in shares. And
in terms of your asset, when you have shares in it and it's going through the unlisted stock exchange, I guess it's not as liquid as being on traditional stock exchange. Over the years, you've seen a fair variance in terms of, I guess, your market cap. How does that look today? How much do you think about share price and market cap?
Yeah, I think, first of all, so when we went from unlisted, we took anyone who had 5,000 shares or less. We bought them out, or the company bought them out. So that brought us down from 650 to about 300. I then offered to, or my family company offered to buy other shares up to a certain amount. So we got down to it. We're now down to just over 100 shareholders. So people could get out. Since then, I don't know. There hasn't been that many trades. Probably, I don't know. Probably 2 or 3 a month.
Right, because you've got a much smaller group there as well.
And so the market cap to me it wouldn't worry me one way or the other, because it's at the end of the day, someone would value the company and would get us real value. So there is no real value, I suppose.
And so, what would you imagine at some point in time, someone's going to knock on the door and want to buy the business? That just would go through a normal sort of valuation type process. Is that how you would see that at some point? Because you probably won't want to run it forever, will you?
Well, I don't know about that, but but I think I think both the water business and the supplement businesses are saleable businesses internationally.
Yeah.
The supplement business in particular, I mean, international companies circling all the time. So I think that could be sold very easily, and I have no idea. And,
Yeah.
the water business, again, it's a lovely recurring just cash flow business that just keeps on generating cash now.
Yeah.
So because it hasn't, and there's the great thing about the rental business, when you stop growing, you're just spitting out cash because you're not buying a lot of coolers.
Yeah.
So they're both good businesses.
Yeah. And clearly you enjoy running them.
And and I enjoy running them. And people say, when are you going to retire? And I say, when I stop enjoying it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know what I'd do if I love playing tennis, but
Yeah.
but I think you get sick of that after a while if playing every day.
That's good. So, I mean, where to from here? You enjoy the business is going well.
We're always looking for opportunities.
Yeah.
So we'd look for acquisitions in terms of the healthy living area. From within, we're looking at some international things that we might do, or could do. But I suppose, always looking for something interesting to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
People hate it when I come back from a holiday or something, and I have this subject as I've been thinking ... Oh, I hate that.
So you come back with lots of ideas? Is that
is
what happens when you get that time to unplug a bit?
Yeah, I think you just come back with, again, if you just go overseas, just doing something different. You just come back with different things that go around in my brain.
Is that important for you to take that thinking time out?
It really is, but I do it like just even going on a trip to Australia or something, just getting out of the day to day for a few weeks or a few days is always good. There's always something. I'm very, very big on utilising my subconscious overnight. So, So I sleep well by never taking something to sleep, but knowing that it's going to be there, and next morning I'm able to make a better judgment or a better decision, or I've thought up a new idea or a new way of doing something or whatever.
And do you find that when you wake up in the morning, you've got ideas immediately that you have to write down, or do they come to you over the course of the day?
No, I have a very stringent. I have the golden hour is after I get up.
Yep.
Where nobody's up except the cat and the dog, and once I've fed them, I go onto my laptop and either I'm answering emails. I've just got a total fresh mind. I'm a morning person. I've got a total fresh mind, and I'm doing things, sending out messages to managers or something. I then do some exercise. Do some stretching, and then I'm not big on fasting. I have a breakfast, muesli breakfast, and then normally some bit of toast, etc. But that's my morning routine, and then probably take the dog out for a walk and try and get to work by 9 o'clock.
Yeah. Oh, that's fascinating. I always find it interesting to understand how what the habits are of.
Sometimes I will wake up in the middle of the night and something, 3 o'clock in the morning, and something will have gone off in my brain.
Yes.
But we have a product called Lester's Nightcap, which is really just a natural product, soothing product, and it works. It just takes that off me, and I go back to sleep again.
Yeah.
So if I have to, I'll go and get that.
Yeah. That's very good. And how do you track and collate your ideas? If you have a lot of ideas, how do you get from those ideas to working out what are the things that you're going to really take action on?
Yeah, I mean, we have a good team of people just inside the senior guys who will poo-poo it or whatever. I'm also, to some degree, I am patient. So I've got a concept now that we're working on, and I think it probably won't happen for another year, but I'm quite patient on getting these buttons right and working out how we're going to do it. And I think that we're, I am an optimist.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about that.
Yeah.
but I think also a realistic optimist.
Good, good. And now a little bit of a pivot. Keen to hear your thoughts on where AI fits in.
That just blows my mind. I mean, that's the most exciting thing. I get really excited by it. And I'm just, a baby in the whole thing, but suddenly technology's caught up with me. And so, yeah, I mean, I can just take all these numbers that the guys give me and just get it down to what I want. And then just within the company, I mean, there are just so many things that, first of all, it's an interesting, I suppose, journey in that our senior executive leadership teams, the four of us, we've sort of been learning off each other as we go. And just every month there's something and there's, hey, tried this and tried that. So we've learned, which has helped our own personal efficiency. And then we're other people, to the next layer down, we've now paid for a co-pilot license for all of them. So and we're encouraging at every meeting that, hey, what have you done? What have you used? How have you used it? And so we're learning a bit off each other all the time as we go along. I mean, it's just the agents are going to come along and it's just phenomenal. I mean, I told you about this Hades. I mean, they're just so far advanced. But there's a guy that's doing all his data. He's got an agent. He's got 6 sub-agents,
Yes.
which are like having 8 PhDs working for him.
Yeah.
And he just gives the good instructions, and off they go and work. And
Yeah.
I mean, it's just phenomenal, the opportunities and the dangers, I suppose.
Yeah. Yep. There's definitely two sides, I think, always to the possibilities of technological tools. Yeah.
But the exciting, I'm on the exciting bit at the moment.
Yeah.
Exciting ride.
Yeah. Fantastic. And how important has the role of, or has technology enablement been within your business over the years?
Yeah, I mean, we're just putting in a new ERP system. Probably it wouldn't surprise me if within a year you'd say, why did we do that? We could have got AI to do just taking our legacy system and do all that. But anyway, we're doing that. I think AI is just, people said, when the internet came in, that was fantastic and people would lose jobs, etc. AI is that's just so far ahead of that. It's happening so fast and it's just mind-boggling. But it's an exciting ride.
Yeah. Do you have concerns around what impact it might have on employment?
Yeah, I really do. If we lose if we go to even a 10% of the workforce out, that it could cause civil unrest. But suddenly you're losing a lot of customers too. So you might be all so efficient now as a company. Yeah. But now you've got no customers to sell to.
Yeah.
And so that's the dilemma, and I don't know how that's gonna end out in the end.
Well, thank you so much, Tony Falkenstein. It's been a real privilege to have you back on the show, and lots of insights covered, and we've delved into a bunch more that we didn't on the last one. Of course, I'm sure some listeners will be going back to listen to the 2022 interview with you, but it's been an absolute privilege to talk with you again. Thank you so much.
No, it's been a privilege to be here again.
Thank you, Tony. All the best.
Okay.
Cheers.
Thanks, Paul.
Well, I trust you enjoyed hearing from Tony Falkenstein. New Zealand Business Podcast has been brought to you by One New Zealand, alongside Gorilla Technology, tech enablement and cybersecurity risk reduction experts, and Outrun Global, remote staffing to help your local teams work smarter, not harder. Be sure to listen in to our other episodes featuring many of New Zealand's most successful leaders and founders, including Brooke Roberts of Sharesies, Sir Peter Beck of Rocket Lab, Cecilia and James Robinson of My Food Bag and Tend, Sir Stephen Tyndall, Sir Graham Henry, and many more. And be sure to share this episode with a friend or colleague who you think will benefit from it. This morning, I was asked to answer some questions for a radio news bulletin about a cyber-related incident in a smaller Kiwi organisation whose reputation was being impacted in real time. My question to you is, have you had a cyber audit in the last 12 months? And do you now have in place the right processes to ensure your team are passing all technology selection and configuration decisions through an appropriate cyber risk review process. If you're not fully confident, get in touch with Gorilla Technology today. Well, thanks for listening in. This is Paul Spain signing out for another episode. I'll catch you on the next one. See you then.
The New Zealand Business Podcast, brought to you by Gorilla Technology, your strategic and proactive IT partner.